Let's bring in Jeff Mason. Jeff is a White House correspondent for Reuters. Hey there, Jeff. Thanks for being here. So the president leaves tomorrow for Brussels. What's on the agenda?
Well, it's a pretty big agenda. The White House, a lot of it today. The new National Security Advisor Sullivan spoke to reporters and said that the president would be announcing new sanctions against Russia during his trip to Brussels, along with European leaders, that he'll be meeting with NATO leaders and discussing long-term NATO troop posture, that he will also be announcing some kind of joint action with regard to energy security in Europe. Europe, of course, being very reliant on Russian gas. So quite a few quote-unquote deliverables. Those are the policy aspects. He'll spend a day in Brussels, and then he will, from there, will go on to Warsaw to meet a day or two, I guess I should say, in Brussels, and then go on to Warsaw, Poland, where he will be meeting with U.S. troops and with the president of Poland. Poland, of course, being an important ally in this whole situation as a border country with Ukraine.
So, Jeff, you laid out the White House sort of expectations for this trip. We know there are a lot of trips such as these where groundwork is laid in advance. But what's at stake here for the Biden White House? What is riding on this trip?
Well, I mean, I think a lot in some ways. He wants to show, President Biden does in this trip, that the unity that he and other U.S. leaders have been talking about is real. Between the United States and Europe. And I think it is. I think that is being shown in the sanctions that have come together as a joint effort between Europe and the United States. But this will be the first time that he's meeting in person with these leaders since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. As far as what else does he have riding on it, look, it's always a chance when a U.S. president goes abroad to get sort of attention for being not only the president of the United States, but the de facto leader of the Western world and that kind of a coalition. And so his performance and how he handles that will also be watched carefully, and both by Democrats and Republicans, as the country is moving several months from now into the midterm elections.
And Jeff, back on the home front, you have interest rates rising. Inflation, of course, is at a 40-year high. Gas prices are an issue. In fact, the Republican National Committee announced today that they are launching this new initiative that means that they'll involve signing up voters at gas stations nationwide. I mean, these are clearly issues that make the White House vulnerable at the moment. How are they working to address this?
For sure, and that sort of ties in with where I left off my answer to the last question. We've got the midterm elections coming up in November. All of these issues will be on voters' minds. Certainly the rise in gas prices and the persistent high inflation. How are they responding? In a few different ways. The president has said he'll do everything he can to bring down prices at the pump. They have talked about how aspects of the president's Build Back Better, what was formerly known Build Back Better, a bill in Congress, would help bring down inflation. I think they'll keep trying to get some of that passed in the coming months. We'll see if they're successful at that. Otherwise, also pressuring oil companies and energy companies not to take advantage of high oil prices, and to be sure that gas prices track when oil prices go down, that gas prices are going down as well. But your question is good, and it's certainly at the top of the mind, I think, of Democrats in Congress and in the White House, and Republicans are seeing this as a vulnerability that they can exploit.
And polling shows right now, Americans say they're willing to pay a little bit more at the pump if it helps Ukraine, but of course we'll see how long that lasts. Jeff Mason, as always, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.